It's now time to create our credentials window and hook up all of its elements. So first I'll close the TwitterMe window, and I'm going to come over to our application folder, and I'm going to toggle it open, and I'm going to choose Windows. I'm going to come down and drag a window out onto the screen. I'm going to resize this one a little bit too. And for this window, we're going to need 2 labels and 2 text fields. So let's come down to Inputs and Values. We're going to drag a label out. I'm going to title this one Username. And we're going to need a text field to enter that in. I'll drag that up. And for easy duplication, I'm going to hold the Shift key down, select Username. Then I'm going to hold the Option key down, and I'm going to drag both of those down. The guides will show me where to place it. And then I'm going to name this one Password. Now just for aesthetics, I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to come up to Layout in the menu. I'm going to come down to Embed Objects In, and I'm going to select Box. You could also use a custom view, scroll view. This is an easy way to group a bunch of items into one of these particular views. So I'm going to choose Box, and that automatically wraps a box around those items. And I'll resize the box. I'm going to change the name to Nothing. I'll just delete that out. And then I'm going to resize the window slightly to make that fit. We're also going to need 2 buttons, a Submit and a Cancel button. Again, I'm going to use the rounded texture button. I'm going to change its size in the size inspector from regular to small. This one I'm going to call Submit. And resize that a bit. And same thing, I'm going to Option click and drag to the left and call this one Cancel. So now that we have all the UI elements on there, let's hook them up. We'll do the same thing. We'll go to Main Controller, right mouse click, bring up our inspector window. Now we're going to get Username text field. Drag that up and select the text field. We'll do the User Pass text field. And we'll also get the buttons. So we have a Cancel button over here, and we have a Submit button on the right-hand side. We'll close that. Now the Submit button we'll want to execute when we hit the Enter key. So we're going to go over to the Attributes, and we'll come down to Key Equivalent and Enter. We're also not going to want this window to be resized, so let's select the window. Click on the window until you see Window Attributes at the top of the inspector window. And we're going to come down to Controls, and we're going to deselect Resize. Now we also need to do this for our main window. So I'm going to come down and select Main Window in the Main Menu Nib area. And I'm going to do the same thing. Deselect Resize. Let's go ahead and save our work. And let's go back to Xcode and run and build and see what happens. All right, let's click the Build and Run button. When our application launches, not only do we see our main window, but we also see our credentials window open as well. Well, that's not the behavior that we were expecting. And also, if you look down in the console, we'll see that we're getting all these warnings. Could not connect the action post-tweet to target of class TM main controller. It looks like none of our buttons are working. Well, that's okay. These warnings are here because we have not implemented any of this code in our implementation file. We've only declared it in our header file. As soon as we implement these, all of these warnings will go away. But first, let's take care of this issue of our window showing up when we don't want it to. So we'll close here. We're going to go back to Interface Builder, and we're going to go up and select the credentials window. We're going to come over to the Windows Attributes, and down here under Behavior, we can see that the checkbox for Visible at Launch is still checked. So anytime that we want a window to not show up when our application launches, we'll want to ensure that this button is unchecked. As a matter of fact, we're going to be using this window as a sheet, so we can come up to Controls and uncheck Close, Minimize, and under Appearance, Shows Toolbar button. We won't need any of those items for this window. Let's go ahead and save. And in our next video, we'll add the files that subclass NSWindow and add that nice gray bar across the bottom.